Hi, I'm Mike Simpson. Welcome to this presentation on working with Android's cameras. If you have questions regarding any of the content covered during this presentation, please use the question and comment box that's located below. Okay, let's get started. Most Android devices come with at least one camera associated with it. Some of them now have multiple cameras associated with it. And you'd probably want to be able to create an application that has some capability of being able to access those cameras. So we want to talk about how you'd go about taking pictures using the cameras that are available to you in Android, and how you would be able to render previews of those pictures that you take using those cameras. First, Android has access to a class called a camera class. Now, the camera class allows you to be a client for the capture service. Now, the capture service is another one of those long-running services that sits in the background, and the capture service is what actually captures or actually takes the pictures. So we don't actually take the pictures themselves, but the camera class interacts with the capture service, and we can make requests to the capture service to actually access the camera hardware, take the pictures, render the pictures, and things like that. So the camera class allows us to set the image capture settings. The camera class allows us to manage picture preview capabilities, and the camera class allows us to actually snap the pictures. So we cannot directly, again, get to the hardware, but we can indirectly access it by going through this camera class, which is the indirect interface to the capture service. And the capture service is what actually captures the images and actually interfaces with the hardware. Now, of course, if we're going to be doing this, then we need to have appropriate permissions to access the camera. And so, as you might guess, we might need to define some of those permissions in our Android manifest.xml file. So, in order to be able to access the camera, we have to have a camera permission. So, if we're going to do that, we'll need to have android.permission.camera to be able to access that. And then the uses feature manifest is going to be used to specify particular features of the camera. So we're going to have android.permission.camera at a minimum. Now, if your particular camera has some specific features, for example, autofocus feature, then the uses feature manifest element is how you access particular features of the camera. So if the camera doesn't have autofocus, then you don't bother putting the uses feature in. But if you do have autofocus and you want to be able to programmatically gain access to that autofocus feature, then you need to mention that autofocus feature in the uses feature manifest element, otherwise you won't be able to get to it. So how do we use this information to be able to access the capture service and thereby be able to take pictures? Well, we have to first get our hands on an instance of a camera object. Now, the default way to do it is to simply call camera.open. That'll give us an instance of a camera object. Now, if you've only got one camera, then it's fine and dandy. But if you have multiple cameras, then you have to pass an argument to that camera object. Camera.open0 or camera.open1 to pick which camera you want to have open. Then you need to get the camera settings. You call get parameters. After you've gotten those parameter settings, then you may need to modify them. In other words, you may need to turn on autofocus, you may need to change the resolution of the camera, if whatever you need to do. Then you'll need to call set parameters to modify those camera settings. Now, some cameras may have different parameter settings. You may be able to modify some but not others. So the specifics of what's going to be appropriate for getting and setting the parameters will be different for different cameras. You may also need to change the display orientation of your camera. Some cameras take better pictures in portrait mode than landscape mode and vice versa. So you may have to do a camera.setDisplayOrientation. Now, set display orientation is all one word here. So you may have to change the display orientation from portrait to landscape. So now, having done all of this setup, in order to actually take pictures, you'll need to create a surface holder object and then pass that surface holder object as your argument to set preview display. Because in order to be able to see the object, you have to have a surface on which to draw. And since this is potentially a three-dimensional object, you need to initialize a surface holder object to hold that. Then you call start preview. Start preview indicates to the camera client capture service that you're going to be starting to preview pictures. Then you call take picture. Take picture actually interacts with the capture service and tells the capture service, hey, we need to start taking a picture here. Then, once you've taken the picture, you can call stop preview. So the sequence start preview, take picture, look at the picture, whatever, stop preview is sort of the infinite loop that you go through as far as taking pictures go. So to start the preview, take the picture, and then stop the preview. Now if you want to take another picture again, then you're going to call start preview again. So you go in that sort of infinite loop. So you loop through these last three steps until you've taken as many pictures as you want to or need to, what have you. And then once you've finished, then you call upon release. Because once you've released that behavior, you're done with the camera. So the three steps above release are your loop. So you've initialized the surface holder, you've passed it to set preview display, and then you loop through the next three steps: start preview, take picture, stop preview. Keep doing that till you've taken as many pictures as you want. And then when you're done, you call release. So once you've released that, then you're finished with the camera. Now in order to draw or render the previews, remember you start out by initializing the surface holder. You pass the surface holder as the argument to set preview display, and you call start preview. Now we don't, of course, take the picture because we just want to see a preview of what the picture looks like. So you don't have to go quite as far if all you have to do is render the previews. But sometimes you want to preview stuff before you take the picture. And you have to go through this set of steps before you take the picture. So that's one of the reasons why we listed them all there as part of taking the picture. So you have to go through even the start preview step before you start taking the picture. Now, you'll have an example of working with that in the little demonstration, followed by an opportunity to practice working with your own hardware. So if you have questions or comments regarding the demonstration, or questions or comments regarding the exercise, please use the question and comment box that's located below. Thank you again for viewing the demonstration and for joining us for this presentation.